From Wall Street to Main Street, this is LA Late.
It's a major night here on Evenings LA as we go into a huge weekend, and on Sunday we will learn the fate of gas prices. Why is Sunday a big day? It's when OPEC Plus will be meeting to determine how much gasoline they'll be cutting to raise prices at the pump for you. I'll have the latest details in the breaking news tonight. Then $10,000 a student loan debt forgiveness gets a determination. When the breaking news today is it's going to the Supreme Court in February. I'll have the latest across the board. The day started with big numbers in the job market, and we'll have the latest details across the board. It's important because you need to get that stimulus. Big stimulus checks have been gotten by viewers of this channel since the month of March, and tonight over this broadcast, we're going to go over these big stimulus checks. $300,000 of stimulus checks, fast stimulus checks that are paying out in less than 2 days. 18 months of stimulus checks, and those 18 months are paying about $3,000 of stimulus checks every month. 5 checks per month. We'll go over the latest details across the board. Plus, the breaking news today is job numbers came in, and unemployment did not get worse. Fascinating, and more jobs were created than expected. Wow, I'll have the latest details and its impact on your wallet in tonight's recording as the non-farm payroll numbers for the month of November are released today. Then DoorDash dashed in a brand new downgrade, and the bond market surging because they believe that the Federal Reserve could come in more aggressively in that next few meetings. But big money today as big checks. $300,000 of them have been law since the month of March. And over this 1 hour broadcast, we'll go over these incredible checks and what you need to know to get those big checks. It's a big show tonight from the shores of Santa Monica, California. So much at issue, and we'll be covering all this and more. Plus, we'll go over how to get those incredible checks. Stay over this 1 hour broadcast because it's a downward spiraling economy, and we'll go over what that means for you and where we're heading across the board. The breaking news and everything you need to know heats up right now, right here, as a big, bold, brand new Evenings LA in prime time gets underway, starting right now. And good evening, everybody. What a big night it is as big stimulus checks are landing. And over this 1 hour broadcast, we're going to go over it. These big stimulus checks that have been paying out since the month of March. They're from you if you're on SSI, SSDI, Social Security, railroad benefits, and more. They are everywhere. These incredible stimulus checks are absolutely wonderful. $300,000 of stimulus checks are covered in this recording, and they are 18 months of stimulus checks. A lot at issue. I'm going to go over all those incredible checks one at a time. Plus, we'll go over what you need to know to get these incredible checks, and we'll go over the breaking news that impacts this money across the board. $300,000 fast stimulus, 18 months, and those checks are paying out about $3,000 a month with 5 checks per month. But first, we start with the breaking news tonight. The job numbers released this morning, and job growth was more than expected, and unemployment was better than expected. The latest details in the non-farm payroll numbers for the month of November released this morning, and let's get to the breaking news starting right tonight. Good evening. In these job numbers released this morning, we had a lot of surprises. First, more jobs were created in the month of November than anticipated. Wall Street was looking for less jobs than the prior month. Of 200,000 was the expectation, down for 284,000, but it came in a lot better. It did not come in at 200,000 jobs created in the month of November. It came in at 263,000. Wow, what a major beat. Number 2, we expected the unemployment rate to surge, but it didn't. It came in at 3.7%, exactly as predicted, and that is a very low unemployment number. So the number of jobs was higher than expected, not as good as the prior month, but still a really good number. And the unemployment rate was suspected to surge out of control higher. It didn't even move, and it stayed relatively low at 3.7. Also in this data released today, we had wage inflation. People were paid more for their jobs than the prior month. Wage inflation showed that their base salaries went up 1% compared to the prior month. That's a lot of inflation for salaries. And compared to year to date, it went up 5.1%, higher than expected, which was only supposed to be a 4.6% increase across the board. To have 263,000 jobs added after the Federal Reserve has been raising 370 basis points is no joke, says Seema Shah, Chief Global Strategist at Principal Asset Management. The labor market is hot, 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 heaping the pressure on the Federal Reserve to continue raising policy rates. And we'll go over that in just a second. Where were the jobs created and where were the jobs lost in the latest data released today? Leisure and hospitality added the most, adding 88,000 jobs in the last 30 days. Other jobs sectors adding a lot was construction, 20,000 up, information up, 19,000. But jobs were lost in retail, 30,000 jobs gone in 1 month, and transportation, wholesale, and housing, warehousing dropped by 15,000 a pop. The Fed is tightening monetary policy, but someone forgot to tell the labor market that, says Finch Ratings economist Brian Holton. The good thing is the numbers are showing the U.S. economy is firmly on growth to the second half, but job expansion at this point is quite interesting. That's the first major story we are looking at tonight. The second major story that we're looking to tonight is, of course, what happened then with the door dashing. Door was dashed, or door dashed occurred. DoorDash, the home delivery food company that competes with Uber Eats, did not deliver numbers as expected, and it got a major downgrade today. Corporate earnings is the best indication of how much we are heading into recession. And DoorDash got a major downgrade today from RBC Capital Markets from outperform to sector perform. The stock was down 3%. It's the latest in a series of companies that continues to slump in those corporate earnings, indicating the U.S. economy is just days away from entering a very big recession. The other major story we're looking at tonight, the third of 5, is the bond market. Treasury yields surged dramatically on the belief that these labor numbers were really strong, and that because of that, the Federal Reserve is going to raise more interest rates. The yield on the Treasury bond surged 3.64 on the belief the Federal Reserve will be raising a lot more rates. And this is not good if you have credit card debt, car loan debt, or anything, because tonight that yield is higher across the board. That's why you need to get a stimulus check. Let's look at those big stimulus checks right now. And back in the month of February, I was the first American broadcaster to record the U.S. economy will be going to recession in January 2023. We are now 30 days out from that. And tonight, the stimulus checks are bigger and bolder than ever before. Let's look at those incredible checks right now. They are everywhere. And viewers have been getting them since March. And those checks are huge, $300,000 of stimulus checks for you, and you qualify. Those incredible $300,000 of stimulus checks are federal, for the federal government, paying out on average about 18 months of monthly stimulus checks, MSCs, of 5 checks per month. It's important to remember that SSI, SSDI, Social Security, Railroad benefits, and veterans benefits qualify as well. They're everywhere. It's also important to understand you need to move fast, number one. Number two, it's important to keep on point, namely, that these are from the federal government, not from your states. Moreover, it's also important to remember it's not for any one particular group. You need to get it right across the board tonight. These are big checks. They are $300,000, fast stimulus paid out within less than about 2 days in some cases. 18 months of checks, $3,000 of stimulus checks per month, 5 stimulus checks per month across the board. And over this broadcast, we'll be going over all these incredible sums of money one at a time. But now let's go to the third major story that we're looking at, which is the bond yields surging across the board. They're surging because there's a belief tonight that the Federal Reserve will come in more aggressively based upon the jobs numbers. Why? Federal Reserve has a dual mandate to get maximum employment for this U.S. economy and also keep prices down for goods that you buy. It's called price stability. Keep inflation under control and get the most people employed. Tonight, those employment numbers are really strong. Unemployment did not grow in the latest report, so the Federal Reserve can raise rates. Moreover, inflation did grow. That labor showed a growth of 1% per month in just 1 month of salaries across the board. So the Federal Reserve is not going to be cautious at all in raising those rates. And that's why the markets reacted negatively to the news, especially the bond markets, when they saw this today. Bond yields surged on the belief the Federal Reserve would come in more aggressively across the board. And ultimately, that is why this guy is important. Why? Because in February, when I was the first broadcast to record the U.S. economy would be going into recession starting in January 2023, just 4 weeks out from tonight's broadcast, viewers of this channel immediately said, well, if that's the case, find me some stimulus checks right away. And I did. And those incredible stimulus checks started with those federal stimulus checks. Let's go over those federal stimulus checks right now. Federal means come from the federal government. There are two branches of government that you interact with on a regular basis. The first one is the local, city, county, and state. The other one is the federal government, Congress and the White House. Your city, county, and state have this amount of money. Your federal government has this amount of money. Cities and counties in many places are going bankrupt. The federal government is not. They have a lot of money. So the big checks have always been from the federal government, number one. Number two, they've been in law since March. Viewers of this channel have gotten since March. Number three, if you just found LA tonight, welcome. You're still on time to get these sums of money. You need to pound to get these sums of money. Three things to think about right tonight. Number one, you need to forget about prior stimulus packages because this is the way this is done since March 2022. It'll be continued this way into 2023. Number two, you need big checks, tens of thousands of dollars. You need to immediately forget about $200 checks or $2,000 checks or $1,200 or $1,400 stimulus checks because you're going to have a 2-year recession and those small checks don't cut it. You need tens of thousands of dollars. And number three, you need to move very quickly. And over this broadcast, we're going to go over these federal stimulus checks, then inflation relief stimulus checks, and then lifetime stimulus checks. Let's look at the other two breaking news stories we're dealing with later in this recording tonight. That's gas prices. This Sunday, you want to tune into this channel. Why? Because there's a major meeting by OPEC Plus, the consortium of gas-producing countries, led by Saudi Arabia and Russia, that will meet to decide how much gasoline to be cut in their production. As gasoline is cut, then gasoline prices go higher. Here's what you need to know before that story comes up later in the broadcast. They're going to cut production of pumping of gasoline in those OPEC Plus countries in that determination this Sunday. The question is how much of a cut they're going to do. The last time we made this recording, we predicted, or not I, the analysts predicted how much the OPEC Plus countries are going to cut, and they underestimated. It was a whopping 2 million less barrels per day pumped. If there's less gasoline pumped, then the gasoline price is going up. Tonight we have some insiders giving us guidance on how OPEC Plus is unhappy that your gas prices at the pump have come down. They don't want that to be the case anymore. They want them up. And I'll have the numbers at issue later in this recording. The second other major story that's coming up later in tonight's recording is student loan debt forgiveness. So the President of the United States had passed that piece of legislation by executive action earlier this year to forgive student loan debts of thousands and thousands of dollars. It immediately went to the courts, and in a lower court, the law was halted, enjoined. An injunction was issued stopping the forgiveness of student loan debts. The president appealed, Joe Biden appealed, and today in a major event, the Supreme Court agreed to take the case. That does not mean they've ruled on the case, it's just that they have agreed to hear the case, and that's coming up later in tonight's broadcast. But now let's get some big stimulus. Your housing market, your unemployment, your forced stimulus. It's among the breaking news heating up tonight in this big show from the shores of Santa Monica, California. Good evening. These big stimulus checks started in the month of March. And let's look at, see, and learn what these stimulus checks are and how you get them. These federal stimulus checks are big, and they started with the ones by Joe Biden. In the month of March, Joe Biden came along and passed a series of executive actions established $100,000 of stimulus checks. You qualify. Done by executive action of Joe Biden in March, viewers have been getting them since March. They got them last month. They'll be getting them this month. Once you get approved by the checks, you're getting them every month on an automatic basis. You qualify. If you make $75,000 or less, single individual, go get them. If you're a married couple and make $150,000 less, go get them. You go onto this channel, become a member, and over this broadcast, I'm going to show you how to get all these checks. I'm going to go over each check one at a time. You go into this video and join the channel, but get ready, because I have more checks after that. Congress came along and passed additional checks, E through K, bringing us to then hundreds of checks for you, the Purple Power community. You're not going to see this in the local news or cable news. I'll explain to you why in just a second. These incredible checks are for you, the Purple Power. So become a member right today. And guess what? They are all in the LA newsletter, which is delivered from me to you Monday through Friday, 7 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. You go into that LA newsletter and apply for those incredible checks. Delivered via YouTube alerts, you go right in and apply for those incredible checks one at a time. Go down the alert when you receive that alert at 7 o'clock tonight, 10 o'clock Eastern, 9 o'clock Central, and go right into the LA newsletter and apply for those incredible checks. We're going to go over each of those checks one at a time in tonight's recording. But first, let's look and understand where this economy is, where it's going, and how dramatically the situation could change in such a quick change of force. What's important to understand tonight is that that jobs number today shocked the market. It should have shocked you. It should have shocked me. Why? Because yesterday we had other numbers, and they look like they were totally different than tonight's numbers. On last night's broadcast on this channel, we had the Personal Consumption Expenditure Index, the inflationary number, released. And it showed that inflation went up month to month, year to year, but not as much as expected. More importantly, we also had yesterday the manufacturing report that showed manufacturing shrunk. But in the latest data today, it showed manufacturing grew. Confusing? Absolutely. Moreover, yesterday we had that report from Christmas, that's the firm, yes, for Christmas, that said firings went up 100% in just the last 30 days. And year to date, they're up 700%. Well, if there's more firings, then there will be more unemployment. Not the case, because the numbers also today showed that unemployment remained stable. Yesterday, by example, unemployment still stayed over 230,000, which is not a particularly great number, not a bad number either. But tonight's unemployment number was great. 3% is a very historically low unemployment number. So something's very confusing here. And we'll analyze this later in the broadcast. Let's get some stimulus checks. Those first three checks passed by Joseph Biden are huge. They are checks A, B, and C. And we're going to go over those three checks together as a family starting right now. Here is the first one. Check a beautiful $6,500 to $12,000 forced stimulus check in every U.S. state. Single individual, $75,000 or less, you qualify. Married couple, $150,000 less, you qualify as well. Congratulations to Spelly, who got this incredible check. So did Kimberly Romano. What do? You go into the video, become a member. Then go down the newsletter. Do you see check A? Click the link and go right and apply. You're not done there yet, because then you're going to go get some check B. Now, check B is that check that's really going to put you over the edge, over the end. Why? Because it's a lot of money. Check B is that check that's paying 18 months of checks to this channel. Remember that graphic earlier? Yeah, this one. 18 months of checks, $3,000 a month, 5 checks a month. Where is that generally coming from? From check B. Example number 1. Frank Mancuso. About a month ago, he joined this channel, and in less than 30 days, what did he get? Let's add it up right now. 18 months of check B. How many check Bs is he getting per month? He's getting the mortgage, 1. He's getting the utilities. That's about 4 checks per month. That's 5. And he's getting high-speed internet. That's 6. That's 6 times 18. Folks, that's a lot of checks. That is 80 to 100 stimulus checks that he got from joining this channel in less than 30 days. That's Frank Mancuso. He's not alone, because last week we had Kimberly Romano. And what does she get? Her HOA fee is about $305 a month, number 1. All her utilities, that's 4 checks. That's about 5 checks right there. There you go, 5 checks times 18 months. That's a lot of money. That's about $35,000. But she also got Her past due property taxes, $4,000, brings you to $40,000, and then she got check A, $12,000. There you go, $52,000. And then right before Frank Mancuso was another viewer out of Florida. She got 18 months, 5 checks per month. That was huge. It was $80,000 to $100,000. It's happening all the time. You're watching LA. This is number one for this financial news story in America. What's important to understand, you're not going to see this anywhere else. This is why this channel works. No one else covers this. Here's an example. When Joe Biden passed those bills, passed those executive actions in the month of March, did you see them in local news? Of course not. Did you see them in broadcast news? No, they did not. Why? Because they really don't care about you. I care about you. And when you ask me to find stuff, I find it. When you ask me to research stuff, I research it and I find it. And you're not going to see this in local news, number one. Number two, the big money is there. Number three, you need big checks, and that's why you need to become a member, especially with those incredible check Bs. Now, let's go to the next check right now, which is check C. And the Purple Hawks have really been pouncing really well with check C for a very long time. Let's look at those incredible check Cs. What are they? They are rent, utilities, mortgage assistance, and more. And you qualify. How do you do this? Once you become a member in the membership newsletter, it tells you the 12 places to call and the 12 things to say and the 12 things to get. It is that important to do all 12. And that is why the viewers of this channel have been winning for a long time. In the last 2.5 years, this channel has gotten $50 million. And a lot of it has been from check C. Here you go. $30,000 of rent, go get some check C. And then utilities, go get some incredible check Cs. Mark is at $6,500. He went to, his brother-in-law went to $15,000. And then that same brother-in-law went to $250,000. Here's Mark at $32,000 of combinations of checks. He went to $50,000, then he went to $100,000, then he went to $166,000. Here's Nisi, she was at $23,000, she went to $50,000. And here's Lorraine at $105,000, she went to $150,000. Tonight, a brand new success story. Totally brand new tonight from a familiar name, Lynn Glenn. Lynn Glenn has been featured on the channel for the last few weeks, but tonight the success story is not hers, it's someone else who she trained after I trained her on this channel. Lynn Glenn originally had gotten 14 months of utilities and 5 months of rent watching this channel. But she kept on bouncing, and she brought it from 5 months of rent to 12 months of rent. 12 months of rent, 14 months of utilities, that's 26 stimulus checks for her. Then she got stimulus N, that's 27 stimulus checks for her. But tonight she has a brand new success story. She taught someone else what to do that she learned from this channel as part of the Purple Power family. And that viewer, that family member, is now holding 12 stimulus checks, 12 months of stimulus checks for rent because Lynn Glenn taught that other family member watch after she watched these videos as well. It's a true Purple Power spirit of helping one another's, and that shows you how much this channel empowers one viewer so that the other viewer can help someone else. And that's why you want to get these incredible stimulus checks. Those are the first 3 checks, A, B, and C. Dragon has gotten $170,000. We have Johnny, who's helped 20 friends and neighbors $250,000. And then we have Kimberly Romano that has gotten a lot of money that flew out of other viewer out of Florida, nearly $100,000. 3 things you want to do. Number 1, go under this video, subscribe. Number 2, go under the video, hit that bell to have all notifications set to all on. Number 3, hit that join the button channel. Join Elite right today and get these incredible stimulus checks. Remember, a recession is 30 days away. The heart of this economy is 30 days away. And it's going to be a 2-year recession. So you need big stimulus. And that is why my focus is with you on big stimulus. As soon as viewers in the month of February said, if there's a recession, then you need to get us big money, I had a triple mandate for myself at the time, and we've achieved it. Number 1, I wanted lots of checks. Clearly, you see on this graphic, we're getting lots of checks. Number 2, I wanted it the ease of you to get it. Very, very easy and straightforward. All you have to do is become a member and go down the membership newsletter. Number 3, I wanted broad eligibility so that you qualify. Absolute broad eligibility, SSI, SSDI, Social Security, railroad benefits. Seniors, young people, retired, working, not working, with children, without children, in every U.S. state, broad eligibility to checks. That's why this works. And tonight we know a little bit more about why it's so important to get this money than ever before. Tonight we know the importance of getting these sums of money because what's at issue is that this U.S. economy is changing very dramatically across the board. It's so important to get these sums of money before it gets worse. In the next 60 days, we will be in a full-fledged recession that'll impact everyone. That'll expand, and continue for 2 years. A 2-year recession. A 2-year recession is not fixed or battled with a $1,200 stimulus check. $1,200 is going to survive you 1 month in a recession. You need tens of thousands of dollars in a recession of stimulus checks, and you need them right now before the recession hits. And that's why it's so important to get these incredible sums of money. And that's why it's so important to watch the big second half. As we continue with these federal stimulus checks, then we go into the lifetime stimulus, and then we go into the inflation relief stimulus checks. But let's go into the other breaking news stories tonight that are very important and tee up what's happening this weekend. Number one, gas prices on Sunday. So, at issue is really a massive, massive turn of events. It is OPEC Plus. On Sunday, OPEC Plus will meet to determine how much to cut production of barrels of gasoline. If there's less gasoline pumped, then it's more expensive. And if gasoline's more expensive, then we have inflation. And if we have inflation, then Jay Powell moves more aggressively. All this is not particularly good news. The takeaway tonight of what we do know definitely is that OPEC Plus will cut production. We know that, and we know the announcement will be Sunday. We also know that when they cut production, the price of gasoline will go higher than where it is tonight, at $83 a barrel. We also know that as it goes higher, we're going to have big problems with inflation, as Jay Powell's been trying to battle inflation all this year, and here comes, again, OPEC Plus sending us on the wrong tangent. So what do we know about some of the numbers tonight about this gasoline, and what should we anticipate across the board? Ultimately, when you look at the gasoline, there are analysts and then there are insiders. And tonight, the insiders give us a little bit of important data about how serious a problem this is. Currently, the international Brent crude price tonight is $80 a barrel. So let's just use that as your benchmark. $80, $83 approximately tonight. Reports tonight say that OPEC Plus, led by Saudi Arabia and also Russia, is simply unhappy with the price of gasoline under $90 a barrel. So they want to get it far above $90 a barrel. 83 is a long way to $90 a barrel. So they may be cutting a lot. How much will they be cutting? Well, this is where the analysis may be undervaluing the situation, but insiders believe it's going to be 500,000 barrels, the announcement this Sunday. Any of this is not particularly good. And of course, it's led by Saudi Arabia and Russia that want the price of gasoline to go higher. OPEC Plus has been rumored to be on a cutting basis to demand weakness, specifically in China over the past few days, but China's traffic is not impacting gasoline. So OPEC Plus in October had agreed to cut production by 2 million barrels. That surged the price of gasoline up a lot. But a series of new reports today, including Capital Markets, Helima Croft believes it's really too hard to predict how much gasoline production is going to be cut, or pumping of oil is going to be cut. But it's going to be there's a significant chance of a very, very big, deep cut announced this Sunday. There's too much uncertainty, she said. Moreover, the insiders believe, including Tamas Varga, who's an analyst and broker at PVM, that OPEC Plus is simply not happy that gasoline is currently at $90 a barrel, less than $90 a barrel. $90 a barrel is simply not acceptable for OPEC Plus, says insider, and it's currently $83. So this massive cut could be really, really shocking. The other major story we're looking at tonight is that major decision by the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court today did not rule on whether or not student loan debt forgiveness is constitutional or not. Rather, they simply said, we will take the case. The way the Supreme Court works is you have to ask them to take your case. And this case of student loan debt forgiveness started in the lower courts. Individuals sued the federal government to enjoin and stop the Biden forgiveness of student loan debt. The lower courts agreed. And what happened was the student loan debt forgiveness program was put on hold. Well, the Biden administration appealed that determination, hoping that ultimately a higher court, namely the Supreme Court, would agree with them. Today, the Supreme Court agreed to take the determination of whether the federal government may forgive $20,000 of student loan debt with an estimated cost of $400 billion. 16 million Americans could be helped with this announcement. And that determination now sends the case to the Supreme Court for oral arguments in February. One of the details of this, which is critically important, which I forgot to mention, or actually, is a side argument earlier in today's broadcast, is the following. If the Biden administration, when it has these oral arguments in February, loses, then what happens? Millions and millions and millions of Americans have not had to pay any student loan debt forgiveness, any student loan debts back to the federal government in, I think it's almost a year and a half. I've been featured on this channel for a long time because I almost forgot when we started covering it. I think it was early 2021. Students have not had to pay back any of the student loan debts since at least 2021. It's called a student loan debt forgiveness moratorium or freezing, meaning whatever payment you owed every month, you didn't have to make it since about when this was put into place, which I think was about 2021. This has now been over a year. Here's the big shocker. No one knows exactly how this would roll out, but if the Biden administration loses in February and that student loan debt forgiveness cannot be forgiven by the federal government, the moratorium is now lifted and that the debts is now owed. Oh boy, does that mean all those monthly payments that the students did not have to make on student loan debts every single month for a year and a half are all due instantly? We don't know tonight. We really do not know. But the takeaway is that this, in the middle of a recession, come February and March, a determination that all your debts that were not owed for a year and a half are suddenly due owed, boy, that could be an absolute catastrophic hit for the U.S. economy for a lot of grown adults who have not had to pay these debts, and suddenly they're immediately due. The Biden administration loses in the Supreme Court in early spring of 2023. What a big shock, and that would be on top of debt that's currently being carried in credit cards, potentially going on to default as well. People don't have the cash on hand. What a big show this is. It's coming up more in the big second half. And now let's continue with those big stimulus checks. In the big second half, we continue with those federal stimulus checks, FSCs. The $300,000 of them, we have a lot of them coming up in the big second half. Then we'll be cutting into more incredible checks one at a time. Remember, there are huge checks, and if any of this is more indication of why you need to move right away, tonight is the reason. 18 months of stimulus checks, $3,000 a month, 5 checks per month. Big money, fast stimulus, 18 months of checks up to $300,000. And the big second half, we continue with these checks one at a time. It's a big show tonight, and we're just getting started. I'll be back with you in 60 seconds as this and more of the breaking news on Evenings LA in Primetime continues tonight.
If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.la.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LA Daily for the excitement of the new LA live daily. The excitement starts on mornings LA at 9 a.m. home LLate returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then afternoons LLate at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LLate.
And the excitement continues in the big second half from the shores of Santa Monica, California. Making news tonight is the big excitement of these incredible stimulus checks. In this big second half, we continue with the checks done by Congress. And these are the hundreds of checks E through K, and they are big. Where do you get them? In the membership newsletter. How do you get the membership newsletter? You become a member. Purple Hawk, Purple Power, Calcino VIP. All these incredible checks are for you in the membership newsletter. We already gone over A through C. Now we're going to go into E through K. On a big night from the shores of Santa Monica, California, good evening. And remember to join me Sunday, because a major announcement from OPEC Plus is Sunday, and it will be featured on this channel as soon as it's released. At Stimulus E is a beautiful $7,500 stimulus check. Go get it. Then Stimulus F, a beautiful $4,000 stimulus check. Wow, I love it. Then G, 20% off stimulus check. Check H, $2,000 stimulus check. Go get it. Then at I, we have a beautiful $8,000 stimulus check. Check J, $8,000 stimulus check. K is a $14,000 stimulus check. We continue thereafter at Stimulus L, $100,000 on average of loan interest-free money. M, a $4,000 stimulus check. Then at N, zero down payment, zero closing costs. No, that's O. Zero down payment, zero closing costs, no mortgage, and no credit, no mortgage insurance required for a brand new mortgage. Let's go back to Stimulus N. Stimulus N is a brand new tablet, computer, a laptop, free internet. Yes, that's absolutely wonderful. John Maloof got it, Spelly got it, Lynn Glenn got it. And others getting as well. You do it across the board. Stimulus P and Stimulus Q. P is 3% down, and Q is $8,000. All right, so those, my friends, are your federal stimulus checks, your Santa stimulus checks, your Christmas stimulus checks. Let's go over a little bit more about these federal stimulus checks right now. Fastest routing time is 2 days. Johnny started on Monday. By Wednesday, he had $45,000. By Friday, he had 15 applications in, half approved, half rejected, $80,000. The next week, he helped his mom, $50,000, his dad, $50,000. Then he got $250,000 for 20 friends and neighbors over the next few days. Number two, these are big checks, these federal stimulus checks. You need big checks because you're going to have a 2-year recession. 18 months of stimulus checks are on average being paid to viewers of this channel about 3, even 1,000, even 5,000 in some cases per month of stimulus checks. 5 stimulus checks per month on average. What are these stimulus checks for? We have money for rent. We have money for utilities. We have money for mortgage, money for home repairs, money for home appliances. We have the car. We have the internet, the computer, the tablet, and more. Just so much incredible details across the board. These are federal stimulus checks across the board. So what do? Step 1, you go into this video, subscribe. Then you go into this video, hit the bell so you have all notifications set to all on. And then you go into this video and become a member. Purple Hawk, Purple Power, Calcino VIP. You apply for these incredible checks as fast as possible. Remember, the applications are open through the weekend, so you apply as quickly as you can. And those, my friends, are your beautiful federal stimulus checks. Now, in addition to those federal stimulus checks down the membership newsletter, at check D are the inflation relief stimulus checks. They're about $1,000 ISC for icing on the cake. That's what they are. And they are beautiful. They are detailed in the membership newsletter, check D, across the board. Thereafter, it's important to look at those lifetime of stimulus, because once your benefits go up, they never go down. This is you if you're on SSI, SSDI, Social Security, Railroad benefits. How many raises of your benefits are you going to get? 4. You got a 5.9% raise for this year. You're going to get an 8.7% raise next year. Then the year after that, there's going to be a raise, and the year after that as well. Why do you know that? We know that because Jay Powell's indicated that inflation will be with us for 2 more years. So you will have 4 raises as we go through this recession. And as you get those raises, guess what also happens? The price of goods you're buying will be the cheapest of a generation as well. So by 2024, you'll have the largest check. Your check will go up in the next 2 years, while the goods you're buying will be going down. It's absolutely incredible, great news. And with that, let's go back into the breaking news tonight. So the 5 stories that we looked at tonight, what were the most important of them across the board? We had job numbers coming in, DoorDash with latest miss for corporate earnings, the bond surging. We had the oil story out of OPEC Plus coming from the Sunday. And we had the student loan debt forgiveness. You know, earlier today I said the gasoline was a very important story. But tonight I really do believe there's 2 of those stories that are the most important. One, I really do believe the student loan debt forgiveness story is a variable that no one is assessing the risk on. And I certainly not assessed the risk on because I totally missed it until tonight. In fact, I've not seen this anywhere discussed. It is the possibility that the Biden administration loses in the Supreme Court in February, which would ultimately give you a determination maybe in March or April of this next year. If the Biden administration loses, millions and millions of Americans, what was the number, 16 million? It was a lot. It was a lot of people, have not had to pay any of their student loan debt payments for over a year and a half. Those debt payments would potentially be due right after a losing determination, a losing ruling, if that is what we go to with the Biden administration. Imagine you're in the middle of a recession, your credit card limits are maxed out, the interest rates are through the roof, and then suddenly all those incredible student loan debt payments that have not been due for a year in a plus, I mean, since 2021. So this would be early 2023 come due. How many Americans is this? 16 million Americans would have a lot of money due very quickly. This is really a catastrophic hit to the U.S. economy. And we don't know if the Biden administration will say something along the lines of you can pay it slowly over time. You can pay these debts that have not been paid for the last 2 years. You can now pay them slower over time. We have no indication of that they will allow that. They may not even be able to do that either under the law. That's number one. Number two, the second major story we're looking at tonight is, of course, the job number. The jobs number is one of those numbers that says so much in so many different ways. First, the fact that the unemployment rate in this new jobs report tonight was so low, it's a very impressively low unemployment rate number at 3.7%, which is historically a very low number, and it's exactly as it was the prior month, and it's exactly what economists expected, signals that the Federal Reserve may come in as aggressively as they wish and may need to come in more aggressively because the inflation was very well manifested in today's numbers and yesterday's numbers. Wage inflation is really out of control, folks. Wages went up 5.1% year to date in the latest numbers today. Yesterday, the inflationary PCE number came in and showed that inflation went up 0.7% month to month, which is about 1%. And year to date, it went up 5.5% in the core PCE released on Thursday. So suddenly we get a little bit skittish that inflation has not come down, that salary inflation is really out of control, and that whatever the Federal Reserve is doing is not working. Really, really not working. And ultimately, if what the Federal Reserve is not doing is not working, guess what also is the problem? Sunday. Sunday. Because if OPEC Plus makes gasoline prices go higher, folks, there's more inflation right there. Wow. Out of nowhere, suddenly we look like maybe we had our arms and back holding inflation, strangling it relatively well, and suddenly it may be getting away from us again. If OPEC Plus cuts production of gasoline on Sunday as expected, higher inflation. If these wages keep on going up, caused by transportation leisure, that was the data tonight, most of these job numbers, job creation numbers, was 88,000 of them at least from travel and leisure, hospitality and leisure. If hospitality and leisure keep on paying these bigger salaries, more inflation right there, Then we had the core PCE 2 days ago or yesterday that showed other items like rent have not gone down, that milk and eggs have not particularly gone down. This is not looking good. So what is good in all this data? Well, people have jobs. People have jobs, and the jobs are paying more. Now, the one part of tonight's report that looks contradictory to last night's report was the firings. Well, last night we heard that job firings is up 700% year to date. But the new number tonight shows that people are not unemployed. Confusing, yeah, it's slowly becoming contradictory. Ultimately, there's a lot going on. And that lot going on is very, very concerning. What are analysts saying? And why are analysts often wrong? Tonight, we have 4 different groups. We have the bond traders, we have the stock traders, the stock analysts, and the economists. And they're saying 4 different things about this economy at the same time. What have I always taught you? Err on caution. Err on caution. 30 days out of recession, and the big hit of recession happening in January, February. Err on caution, because ultimately, if it's good times here to stay in January, February, that's fine. You're not hurt by being pessimistic or cautionary about the market or the labor market or your job or the economy. You're just being cautious. It's always better to be cautious than be reckless, because you can't get back lost money. And ultimately, that's the messaging as well for stimulus. I know, you see, we all see the chitter chatter of $600 stimulus checks, or $1,200, or $2,000, or $400, or automatic $500 checks. That's not going to cut it. You all know that. We all know that. Small, puny checks are not going to cut it, even in this economic environment. We don't know specifically if our predictions will be right for January, February. But even in this economic environment, with tonight's data, small stimulus does not work. You need big stimulus. And so it's important tonight to have 3 mentalities across the board. 1, big stimulus. You want big stimulus. So you keep on wanting to pounce, keep on applying, keep on doing everything you need to do to get tens of thousands of dollars of stimulus. Don't stop. Keep on getting money across the board. Number 2, you need to move very quickly, because ultimately we're erring on caution, and caution is 30 days out as a recession. We may be wrong, but ultimately you go with caution. Number 3, there's a lot of brand new variables just tonight that we didn't even have last night. Those brand new variables tonight are cutting the gasoline by OPEC plus, number 1. Number 2, the concern that student loan debts may actually be due very quickly if the Biden administration does not prevail in the Court of Appeals. Number 3, the confusion about China, which hasn't been on the shelf for 2 days. If those China workers still do not show up to factories, more supply chain disruption, less sales this holiday season. And number 4, ultimately, the big confusion about corporate earnings. We still don't know why Walmart beat and Target missed. And Target missed really bad, a 50% miss in those third quarter corporate earnings just days ago. There's a lot out there. And the best way to prepare is learning to earn and pouncing as a purple hawk, getting big sums of money and watching recordings. We continue all weekend long, and we continue all night long. Meantime, thank you for joining on our new show last night. Don't know if it'll be tonight, but if it will, I'll give you a pre-heads up. It's called LA Late Night. It's an 8 o'clock show that was actually taped on this set with a new angle and a new look. It was an 8 o'clock show. It's full form, free form, question answer. We talk about whenever you have a question on. So if you do have a question about this economy or stimulus, anything you want to know, it's that 8 o'clock show, LA Late Night. Make sure you watch this channel, because alerts always sent out ahead of time if the show is being debuted again across the board. Programming continues throughout the night on this channel. Evenings LA every night at 5 o'clock. Then 6 o'clock, Street is Countdown. Street and Stimulus at 7. 8 o'clock is Extra. 9 o'clock is Sunset. The programming continues throughout the night before we return on early mornings L8 at 4 a.m. Mornings L8 at 9 a.m. Countdown at 7 a.m. And then we're back with holidays at L8 at every day at 11 a.m. For the shores of Santa Monica, California, you're doing so well. I'm very, very proud of you. Keep on pouncing as a purple hawk. Keep on getting those big sums of money, because we err on caution. Caution is our friend. And that caution starts by getting massive amounts of stimulus right today. getting as much stimulus, helping other people like Lynn Glenn helped her family member today, and going back and getting other stimulus checks, getting as many, many months as possible. Remember, once you're approved for stimulus, then it's automatic. So for people who got approved for stimulus in November, they're getting it in December. It's that type of automation, automatic stimulus that's always so inviting. From the shores of Santa Monica, California, thank you for joining me on a big night. We got a lot coming up throughout the night, and I'll be in the live chat with you as well. Stay informed, stay focused, and stay with LA for more.